All right, man. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to do this, and there are other people listening in. Hopefully, I'll be able to benefit by some of the coaching I give you. So don't feel nervous or anything. But you know what? You're like that. Everyone's like that in front of a client anyway. So, so that's actually good, So anyway, so let's just pretend like, boom, we're at the table, and my wife's name is Jenny, and just kind of start from the beginning, and let's go through the process. I might even throw some stuff on the board to, as far as I, kind of stop you and then kind of tweak you. So I'm going to just tweak you as we go along, and then, hopefully it'll help improve what you're doing. Okay?
Sounds good. Okay. Table. Okay. So, how's your day been going?
It's going awesome.
Okay. You guys have a beautiful home here.
Thank you. My wife's worked hard on it.
Oh, well, she's done an amazing job. My compliments to you, Jenny. Okay, well, my goal here today is just to share with you. I'm kind of nervous, so.
That's okay.
My goal today is just to share some information with you guys to help protect you and your family. So we'll just go through this. I don't want to say presentation, but we'll just talk through some of the things that we have to offer. And you can stop me at any time if you have any questions, okay?
Cool.
Okay. Like I mentioned, can you see, is there a way I can blow it up so you can see my presentation? Do I tap on this here? How do I make my screen bigger so you can see, or do I need to lift it up?
No, don't worry about it. But I'll know where you are in the presentation. So just go through it.
Okay. So, all right. So usually they ask me who are we, So I start with the first page and let them know that I'm with the Alliance, which is a national company.
Okay. Let me hold on. Let me do something here. Okay, I muted you. All right, so let's. Okay, so now I kind of got my mind. I got to get my mind right. Let me grab my ATM as well. So, okay, so when I get kind of warmed up, just so I don't make it, so I make the process of setting up the presentation a lot easier. So what I'll do is I will, as I'm kind of like setting up, like I've got like my briefcase and I'm like picking stuff out of here, and so while I'm talking to them, I say, so Joe and Mary, how y'all doing? Hope your day started out all right. And I'm kind of pulling everything out here, and then I'm like setting it up, and so we're just chit-chatting. And here's another technique, okay? So here's another technique when I'm setting up on the table, is I will I will ask them, like, these little things are real little techniques that all add up. And if you want to jot this down while we're going through it, that's cool too. Okay. So if they don't offer me a glass of water, then I'm going to ask them. So, we get to sit down. I actually go right to the kitchen table, and I'll set myself down on the kitchen table because that's where we're going to transact business, And if they say, well, have a seat, and they're pointing to their couch, I'm going to say, oh, you know what? Why don't we go to your dining room table? So I'm going to point to the dining room, and I'm going to walk to it. Or I'll say, hey, I think it'd be easier to go on the kitchen table. So I try to control the environment as much as I can. If the TV is blaring, and I'll say, hey, do you mind if we just kind of shut that off so that we can kind of make this a very short meeting? Okay, so always tie my control to what they want to have happen, because they don't want this to be a long meeting, right? No one wants a long meeting with an insurance agent. So I tie my request to control the environment to them wanting for this to be short.
Okay.
So it's always like you incentivize people with what they want. And what they want is they want a short meeting, they want the information, and they want you out of there. So I use that to my advantage. I say, you mind if I shut the TV off? And you know, if they got a bunch of pets running around, okay, one thing I do is I pet the pets, okay, because the pets are their family. So I always take a little time, because I love dogs. You know, cats typically don't run up to you, but the dogs will. And I'm just petting the dogs, man. I'm loving on the dogs. I love dogs. But you know what? When you love their dogs, it just shows that, and dogs love you, immediately they love you. It's like, if my dogs like you, then I like you, kind of a thing, right? So that's one of those things in controlling the environment. And then if they haven't asked me for a glass of water, I'm going to ask for a glass of water. Okay, I'm going to say, man, I've just had like, it's you know, been a day so far. You mind if I get a glass of water, please? And so what that does psychologically, it puts you in this position of you're the guest and they're the host, right? You're not the insurance person, the salesperson. You start to turn into the guest, and then they treat their guests better, right? Sometimes they treat their guests better than their own family. You know what I mean? So, so I'll ask for a glass of water. Again, take advantage of that control thing. The other thing I do is I make sure that everyone's sitting in the right place, the right position. So I'm going to try to sit, if I can, at the head of a table, and then next to me I'll put the same sex husband or wife, spouse, close to me, and then the opposite sex spouse next to them. So it's kind of an L configuration. I'm at the head of the table. I've got the husband, for me, Alex, I have the husband here and the wife there. If it's just, you know, single person, then, you know, doesn't matter. But if you're a female, I would have the wife here and the husband there. Just have the same sex person closest to you, okay? So that's the only other thing I do in kind of controlling my environment, because I want to make sure I'm in control. And then when you have everything in control, then you feel in control, and then boom, you're on your way. So while I'm kind of chit-chatting with them, getting everything all set up, you know, I'll pull my ATM out and then on the table, and then I just say, listen, they have me make sure I keep this appointment short. So I'm just going to go through this flip chart real quick. And so, you know, it would just keep me on track so I don't wander, you know, make this a longer meeting than it needs to be. Again, you're emphasizing the shortness of the meeting is tied to me going through this, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to get into those kind of people that's like, oh my gosh, another flip chart presentation. Not that a lot of people do that anymore. They probably do it on an iPad. But I don't want them to think that this flip chart means it's going to be an hour-long thing.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, you know, this is going to help me stay on track so we can get you the information you need and you can make a decision. You know, again, I'm planting seeds so that you can make a decision. I don't want to get too complex here, but I start suggesting things to them. That's a pretty powerful NLP technique. That's neuro-linguistic programming, and it's called embedded commands. And it's in your language. Like you start suggesting to them, Arnita, what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So when you start slipping in little suggestive things, taking advantage of this NLP thing, mm-hmm. It's like Jedi mind tricks. I do it all the time to influence my children. Don't tell Jenny, but to influence Jenny. Like seriously, I'll say stuff like, you know, so when you make meatloaf tonight, I'm gonna say stuff that is suggested. So, hey, so as I pull this out, I don't apologize for it per se, but I say, yeah, I need to follow this this flip chart here so make this a short meeting, and that so that you can figure out what you want to do and how you want to take care of your family. Again, they're closing. Every comment is a NLP suggestive embedded command to close. They're going to make a decision to cover their family. Everything coming out of your mouth is they're going to take care of their family, blah, blah, blah. So I'm planting the seed with you, Arnita. See, I'm doing it on you, right? I'm suggesting it to you so that in your mind it's going to be there. So it's going to come out. I promise you. You're going to be doing it, and it's like, oh, wow, I just did it, right? You might even talk to your husband. Honey, you know, after you pick up that stuff at the store for me, I'd like for you to, you know, I mean, that's the selling. Anyway, so that's how I introduced the presentation, and then I dig right into it. Like it's an ongoing conversation. Like I'm talking to them and asking them questions based on this is guiding me, but I'm not like saying, all right, here's the next slide. This is what I'm going to talk about. All right, can you see this, Joe and Mary? So here's the vibe, okay? Let me kind of get the vibe to you. It's kind of weird to kind of do this like this, but so, I mean, it's not what I say, but it's like, I'm going to speed through this just so you know how the flow is. I guess I'll tell them, hey, Joe and Mary, listen, we're the Alliance, and what we do is we take care of families with mortgage protection, retirement protection, and life insurance and annuities and a lot of different things, and we respond to these letters that you send in to us so we can take care of you, okay? Now, let me tell you a little bit about me. You know, I blah, 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 and then I go, now, here's a picture of my license, and here's my picture of my wife. You know, I'm just flipping, and I'm talking and flipping. Okay, but I'm asking.
They asked who is the Alliance. So how do you, like, because they want to tie you in with another company. Do you say you're a brokerage, or how do you explain that?
Okay, you know what? I never get that.
No.
Like I closed 3 appointments last week. Okay. I ever get it. I never get them. And let me tell you where that comes from. A little bit comes from you because you project, you feel like you need to say that to them. Now you might actually have someone ask, well, who's the Alliance? Well, the reason why they ask that is because you're putting this up and it says the Alliance. Okay. So I answer the question already. I just say, now, this is who we are. We're the Alliance. We take care of families with mortgage protection, retirement protection, final expense, a lot of different things that we do for people. We have about 15 different companies. I'm going to show you who we work with. And boom, I'm like, that's all I say, right? So I'm not really, I'm answering their question, but I'm just like, you know. Now, if you have run as many appointments as I've run, you're going to not get, like, you're going to learn how not to project that on people. So here is really important psychologically, is that everything in your head about, oh my God, they're going to ask me who the Alliance is. What do I tell them? Do I tell them we're a broker that works with different companies? Do I tell them this? Do I tell them that? And then, oh my gosh, I wonder if they're going to, you know, give me a think about it. And I want to see all that stuff in your head about, like, because you're nervous and you're getting started. That what happens is you psychologically project it on them, and then they start repeating what's in your head. Like, seriously, it is like, it works like that. It is a psychological NLP thing. Okay, so if it works like that with the objections, then it works like that with closing. Right. So in your mind, it's like, I'm taking care of you and your family. You love your family. You want to take care of them. Right. If that conversation's going on in your head, like, I promise you, you're going to reduce all that other stuff because it's not in your head already. Right. All right. You're assumptively closing, and that's sort of the idea of assumptive close, is that I'm taking care of you. Like those appointments, I haven't run an appointment like with a current client. I've run appointments with my current clients, but I haven't run a lead appointment in, you know, a long time.
Yeah.
But every time I went up to the house, it's like, well, I'm going to take care of them. It's just they're going to pick one, and I'm going to write it up. It's just which one am I going to write up?
So
Do you see how that's different?
Yeah.
That's different than that. A lot of people go in thinking, oh my God, I wonder if I'm going to close this.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think like that. I go in going, okay, I wonder which plan they're going to pick. You know, it's a little tweak, but it's a major thing. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we kind of got that. So start from you're sitting down, you're pulling it out. So just ask me some little chit-chatty questions or whatever as you're pulling it out.
Well, I kind of look around. Most of the time I'll ask for water. Like the last appointment I had, I asked for some water.
Oh, perfect.
Do you mind if I take my shoes off? You got to say something back. I'm going to go ahead and take my shoes off. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say, oh, you don't have to.
Oh, okay.
And what do you say?
Oh, no, it's are you sure?
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I like that. That's great because you got that, start getting that interaction. I love you do that. You obviously learned that it shows, it's a sign of respect.
Right.
That you respect them in their home. I always wipe my feet before I go into the house. I show them, there's a reason why there's a doormat there, so I wipe my feet because I want to, it's a display of respect. So perfect, I love that. That's good stuff. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can take your shoes off, just as long as your feet don't stink.
I promise you, I did wash my feet today, so we should be
all right, awesome.
Okay, so now we're sitting at the table here. So I'm just going to go over just, I don't want to say short presentation because I guess when I say presentation, in their mind, that might be something long. But
yeah, so I don't call it that. I just say, okay, this is going to help me make sure that I ask the right questions and make this a short meeting.
Okay.
I mean, just something like that.
Okay. Okay. So I just have this to keep me on track. So, but we'll discuss everything here as I go along. Okay. So I'm going to do like you did in the beginning. I think I mixed my pages up. But I'm with the Alliance, and we help protect families and mortgage protection, retirement planning, and final expense. I think I mixed up my pages, right? Okay. So just a little about me. I learned this technique on Wednesday that they show the information about me, but they don't really talk about me. They use that to talk about them. So I may say I have 2 children, and I'll say, well, how many children do you guys have? You know, and then let them talk and say, oh, well, how old are the children? And so now I talk about their families, and you know, and then I look at the pictures, and I say, oh, that's a nice picture over there. When did you guys take that picture? So something like that to kind of tie it in. And then
okay, so let me say this about that is only if it's genuine.
Okay.
Like I'm a very curious person, so anything I say, it really comes out of pure curiosity. Mm-hmm. And I kind of look at that picture, it's like, wow, that's a really cool picture. Like, how long ago did you guys take that? Like, it's a family picture or whatever. And they go, oh, that was like 3 years ago. Man, they did a great job.
Yeah.
You know, so I like how you put that right there when you talk about family. So that's good. Okay, keep going.
Okay. So this is my license, and these are pictures of my family as well. So these are some of the companies that we represent. Okay,
so let me stop you.
Okay.
Okay, this happens to me. I talk about my kids, I go, and these are my children. And like my oldest now is 21, and my youngest, I point to Izzy, she's 14. And it's like, I don't know where the time went.
Yeah.
Okay, so, so there's something about you talking about your children that totally is endearing.
Yeah.
Because it shows that you're a mother. See, the biggest thing you're trying to paint, the picture you're trying to paint in this slide is you're creating a rapport with the client, but what you're also doing is you're breaking down the barriers as you as a salesperson. Because right now you walk in and it's like, I'm the life insurance salesperson, right? Trying to break down the barriers of you being the salesperson, the client to, I'm a mother of these awesome kids.
Yeah.
And this is my awesome son, so-and-so. This is my daughter. And, man, I'm so proud of them. They're just wonderful children.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you let the mother come out. Does that make sense? Because if the mother comes out of you, the mother and them, the mother and father, it's like this totally endearing thing that just softens them to you as being not just a salesperson, but you love your children. That's, to me, the biggest thing about that slide. Make sense?
Yes. So, and I do say, I guess I'm kind of going fast because I'm a little bit nervous, but I do say that my oldest daughter is 19 and she's a sophomore in college, and I have a 17-year-old who's a senior in high school. So I do say that. And I have on my slide 2 beautiful girls, and then I go into detail about the girls.
That's good. I love it.
Yeah.
See, now look at your face. Your face totally, when you talk about your kids, your face lights up.
Yeah.
I mean, mine too. And if they're older, like seniors, I always like to put time in perspective for them. And it's like, man, where did the time go? I can't believe my kids are this old. And the older seniors, it's like, in their mind, they're going, just you wait. In their mind. So what that does for the older person, it puts them in grandparent mode to like their son or daughter, because they think in their mind they've got all this wisdom about how time flies. Okay. The other thing it does for an older person, it makes them think that they're closer to the end than the beginning. So do you see how kind of the subtle things that you say put them in the environment and framework of protecting each other? Okay, so that's just another little thing. Okay, keep going.
So these are the companies that we represent and work with, and the reason why we have 15 or 16 different companies is to be able to provide better coverage for everyone. Because sometimes you'll have instances where the wife is healthy and she will get one type of coverage, but then maybe the husband's had a heart attack. Some insurance companies, if you just go with one company, they may only want to deal with people who are completely healthy, but because we have a wide range of different insurance companies we work with, we're able to help most types of families and most medical conditions.
I love it. I love it. That's good stuff right there. Okay, so the people that are watching, let me tell you what she's heading off at the pass. What she is heading off at the pass is we can get one of the clients covered with like Mutual of Omaha, but we can't get the other client covered with, we have to go with AIG. And so what it does is it separates in their mind that we're customizing it, and it could be different for each spouse. Because sometimes when you can get one spouse covered but not the other, they don't want to get covered at all, right? So that's what Arnita's doing. She's heading the objection off at the pass down the road. So rock on. That's awesome, Arnita. All right, keep going.
I do add that helps to provide a better premium, too, for you, a lower premium, so we can have better premiums for them. So then I pull out the lead that I have. And
okay, so let me add another thing. I know, by the way, it's very important this is detailed because this will lock it in your head. Okay, so I like to tell them stuff, but I like to more ask questions. And when I say stuff like, we have a number of different companies because then we can really customize a program for you. One company might be better for you, Joe, and another might be better for you, Mary. Does that make sense to be able to have a lot of companies to choose from to take care of each of your specific health situations?
Okay.
Okay, so what that does is that you're asking that, you're making a statement, but then you're confirming it in a question for them, and they say, oh yeah, that's great. And then I talk about, now you've heard of Mutual of Omaha, right? And AIG and Transamerica, yeah, these are, okay, so then you're using the big names to elevate the status of the type of companies that we work with. All right, keep going.
I do want to say, too, that I do mention, like, Mutual of Omaha, and I say, like, we've been around since 1909. and then one of the other companies, and I said, you do want to work with a company that has been in business and has been established for a long period of time. So I do incorporate that into the conversation as well, because I want them to know that it's not something that's fly by night and that's going to go away, because we've been around for 100 years or so, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so a better way to phrase that is, doesn't it make sense to go with a stable company that has a long track record and been around for like over 100 years or for a long time?
Okay.
So instead of telling them that, you're asking the question, doesn't it make sense for you to, be with a company that's been around a long time and has an established track record? And then say, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I'm just writing this down.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people believe what they say, but they always have to question what you say. See, they try to trust you, but when they agree with you, when they say it even, then they don't object to themselves, okay? But they could object to you. They could make a decision based on you, on what you're saying. I don't want to make decisions whether they trust me or not. I want them to acknowledge when they say yes, then they don't say no to themselves. They don't object to what comes out of their mouth, basically. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So, and I have my lead here. Sometimes I'll bring my lead paperwork that I have and discuss it from the beginning, like when I'm setting up, because that's the reason why I'm here. Or sometimes I'll bring it in at this point when it says, look at your financial picture. So I'll look at my lead and say, Jenny, you're 5'5" and 120 pounds. Is that correct? And she'll say yes. And then Alex, you're 5'6" and you're 170 pounds, and you say yes. Okay.
Perfect. So I'm glad you brought that up about the lead. The most important part about developing bond and rapport and trust is that early, because you have a very short period of time to build that immediately, because they can make a bad decision about you within the first 30, 90 seconds, right? And so the first thing I do, and you reminded me when you just said that, is while I'm setting up, I'll pull the lead out, and while I'm setting my stuff up, I put the lead in front of them, and I say, you remember filling this out? Like, if it's a call-in lead, you can't really do that. But if it's something they filled out, I put it in front of them while I'm pulling all my stuff out. I put the lead in front of them so and usually they pick it up and they say, yeah, I remember filling this out. Mm-hmm. Immediately, there's credibility because the lead is something that you reference and they see their handwriting. Mm-hmm. So I like to use the lead immediately, but then I do what you do, okay, which is good. During the About Them slide, that's when I reestablish their height and weight and everything. So right on, you did. That's perfect time to bring the lead back up, but I would introduce it early to build that trust earlier than later. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the part where I need a little help on. So we talk about like use, and they're good with that. And then I ask like what they do, but I don't really ask how much money they make because it says income here. They'll tell me what type of work that they do, and they'll tell me how much their mortgage payment is, but we don't really get into the conversation of how much money they actually make, or we do talk about how long they've been with their company and what type of work they do, but I guess we go on the mortgage. So I focus more on how much their mortgage is and how much their monthly payment is versus their income.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let me show you kind of how I do that.
Okay.
Okay, so what I do is I turn the lead over,
mm-hmm.
and then I do the T graph here, the little T thing, and I put Joe and Mary. Okay, so this drawing it out helps me with closing it. So I'll start asking, okay, so Joe, I'll take the lead out, and I say, now your height and weight, Joe, I've got you as 5'8", 175, is that right? He goes, yeah. And then I've got Mary's at 5'4", 135, is that right? Yeah, okay, great. Now, I showed that you both are non-smokers, is that right? Okay, so I put non-smokers. And kind of so this process of putting the T-graph helps me a lot, you know. Now, just ballpark, Joe, so this is how you ask, because you do really have to ask annual income questions, okay? Mm-hmm. And honestly, I've never, you know, maybe like, I can hardly remember any time anyone objected to me asking the income question, okay? Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is because of how I ask it, okay? So I'll ask it and I'll say, just ballpark, Joe, just round numbers, okay? Doesn't have to be exact, just ballpark round numbers. Like I did this last week, everyone, they couldn't even remember. I said, well, on a weekly basis, how much you bring home. Usually if you got more of the laborer type person, they'll know weekly, and then I'll just translate it to an annual income or a monthly income. Usually the white collar people know salaries. So just ballpark, Joe, how much do you think, you know, you bring into the household as far as income? And he'll say, well, I'll probably bring in 75,000. All right, how about you, Mary? Ballpark, you know, do you work in the home or outside the home? Okay. And she'll say, oh, I work outside. I do some part-time work at the school. Okay, so just ballpark, how much do you think, you know, you bring into the home? No, I'll bring about 25,000. All right, cool. Now I showed that your mortgage is how much? Okay, so this is a mortgage protection. And how much is your mortgage? I have here it's 150,000. Is that correct? And how long are you planning on paying on that? 20 years, 30 years? 30 years? Okay, great, 30 years. And finally, what, you know, ballpark, just taxes, insurance, everything, you know, what is the monthly mortgage payment? How much do you think you pay in the monthly mortgage payment? And then they might say, like, it's 1,000. Okay, great. Mortgage payment. So what I'm trying to do here is paint the picture for them, okay, because this helps me, like, do all the other pain finding stuff because I have everything listed down, because now I know he makes 75% of the income, she makes 25% of the income, mm-hmm. right? And so this helps me launch into the thing. Now, they're going to, I don't ask what they do per se. You know, I say, well, what company do you work for again? And I'll put all that stuff out here. So let's say he works for, you know, XYZ company. And Mary, who do you work for? You know, it's like, it's the school, whatever, school, okay? Again, you're looking at the different thing. Now, Joe, do you currently have a 401k at your company? Like, no, I ask them, how long have you been at that company? I've been there probably 10 years. Okay, great. And Mary, how about how long you've been working at the school? 5? Okay, great. Now, Joe, did you get involved in the 401k program at work? He goes, oh yeah, I'm set up a 401k. Okay, cool. So before you, in the position that you had prior to that company, did you roll that 401k from that company into this company? And he said, yeah, I did. I rolled over what I had, or maybe I didn't. You know, all this is setup questions for, you know, knowing if there's annuity money. How about you, Mary? Did you have a 401k set up at school? He says, well, I had a 401k from another company before I, you know, started raising the kids. But it's still, I go, oh, what'd you do with it? Oh, it's still there. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so that's just giving me clues that there's annuity opportunities, okay? Now, kind of curious, Joe and Mary, are there any other insurance that you have in place right now outside of work that you own? You know, they may say yes or no, whatever. They have policies, you know, because I want to know what I'm dealing with, right?
Right.
And then I reestablished the stuff I asked them on the phone, so I kind of draw a line and go, so are there any major medications that you're taking, Joe? And, you know, let's say it's Norvasc, Lipitor for cholesterol, let's say it's metformin. Oh yeah, and I put their age, so let's say Joe's, you know, 50 and Mary is 41, metformin because he's diabetic. And when he says that, I go, oh, okay, so you're diabetic. When did you get diagnosed? And he says, well, I got diagnosed this year. Oh, okay, so just recent because he's 50. Well, let's make him 52. Oh, I got diagnosed when I was 51 last year. Okay, great. Any surgeries? Any major surgeries? I just had knee surgery in high school. Oh, okay, that's cool. Knee surgery. Okay, Mary, how about you with medications? She's not taking any medication. She's very healthy. Any surgeries? No surgeries. All right, cool. So that kind of gives me an idea of their operations and so on. And then now either one of you in the military, like sometimes it's really obvious, but you know, you need to know if they're in the military and so on. You know, if I see, you know, sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it isn't. You know, I'll ask them, are you in the reserves? Are you, you know, involved in the military at all? Right? And then you talk about your kids. Tell me about your kids. Oh, okay, we got 3 kids, and Joe Jr., Mary Jr., and let's say Martha. Okay, and I love those names when they, if they're biblical names, like Isaac, Abraham, and Hannah. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Did you have a Bible theme here? Oh, yeah, we have a Bible. You know, then you know they're Christian, and then you can maybe talk to them, relate to them on that. Yeah, Joe's 17, Mary's 14, and Martha's 5. You know, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Martha came by way later, you know, anyway. So now what you've done is you create this financial picture on the back of the lead, okay? And then what it does, it allows you to do some really cool things with it as far as finding pain. So does that make sense? When I ask questions, I make sure that I do it as part of the process of getting to know them. And I do it quick. As quick as I did that, it's about as quick as it takes. Mm-hmm. So I know the full picture, all right, because I really want to do my job. If you did your, Arnita, if you did your bond rapport well at the front end, all this stuff's pretty easy. Like, right. They don't ever balk at income. And if they ever do, a lot of it is because you didn't establish the right relationship with them, that you're the doctor and they're the patient. Right. Like, you know, when your doctor asks you questions, if you're trying to get something diagnosed, they're not going to, you know, you're not going to say, well, that's private information, doctor. I'm not going to answer that question. Right. Right? Because you're the doctor, they're the patient. So likewise, in this relationship, you know, when you establish that you're the expert, you're going to take care of them, you know, that through that relationship, that stuff comes through. Does that make sense as far as how to ask those questions?
Yeah.
Have you ever had...
Backside.
Say again?
Writing it down on the backside of the lead, I think that helps. Versus looking at the ATM when you're doing it, trying to ask those questions.
Yeah. One thing I like to do, I like to use the lead sheet too, because it's where I document all my notes. Because you'll need that in the future should the client have any questions about why they made their decision. It's important to put that in your files because you'll refer back to it. And what's really cool is when you write it down, you're going to totally remember that appointment. Like I promise you, it could be 10 years later. You pull that sheet out, your mind will go back to an exact moment when you wrote all that stuff down, and you'll totally remember everything about that meeting. So it's good to put notes on there, and it's really for your records, okay? So if they ever say, hey, can I have that? It's like, I'm sorry, this is for my records to keep a file on you to make sure, you know, we know what all went down today, okay? So yeah, the other thing about kind of visually doing it, and I'll show you in the pain process, is that it helps you reference it. So it's this visual thing that's in front of them, in front of you, that you wrote down so that it's something that you can both kind of look at. That's not the ATM, but it's something that you wrote down. And now you start getting into the customized situation, all right?
Okay.
Okay, so tell me about your transition from there to, you know, finding their why, their pain.
Okay. Well, I still have my paper out. I kind of looked here on this page for the what if. So when you sent this form in, let me see, you sent this, you were concerned about eliminating your monthly mortgage protection, or I'll say when you sent this form in, I've only done this a couple times, so I got to think about it.
Yeah.
When you sent this form in, it looks like you were concerned about having protection, protecting your mortgage in case of unemployment or an accident, being able to still pay your mortgage. Is that correct?
Okay, I'll make it way easier for you. Okay. Would you like me to make it easier for you?
Yeah.
See, I've asked you a question. Okay. Okay, so this is another NLP thing where you put them back into that same position of how they were feeling when they filled the form out.
Mm-hmm.
So how you preface that is you go, so Joe, Mary, like which one filled this out? You know, it looks like sometimes Mary filled it out, but she signed Joe's signature. And sometimes you can tell because it's very curvy and artistic, and typically that's the one. Okay, I hate stereotyping this, but in my experience, if you see Joe Smith and it's like this real cursive, beautiful looking handwriting, it's probably his wife. But I'll just ask him, so who filled this form out? Who? And then the wife says, well, it was me. Oh, okay. Wow, you signed your husband's signature like right on. She goes, oh yeah, I have his signature better than he does. My wife would say that, but so okay. So the words are like this. So Mary, take me back to when you filled this out. Do you remember where you were? Okay. What that does psychologically is she tries to go back in time to when she filled this out. Do you remember where you were when you filled it out? She goes, well, I think I was probably in my kitchen table, whatever. Okay, so take me back there when you filled this out. What was on your mind? Then I shut up. I don't say anything.
Okay.
So what was on your mind? Okay, so if Arnita, if she's sitting like with her hands like this on the table,
Mm-hmm.
when I ask that question, so tell me what was on your mind. I mirror and match her, okay? The mirror match thing's really important.
Okay.
Like if she's kind of sitting, laying back like this, I will go, so take me back, and I'll sit and lay back like this. So take me back to when you filled this out. Do you remember where you were? What was on your mind when you filled this out? And then I shut up. And then I let her talk, right? It's an easier question than when you were trying to, you were trying to put words in her mouth or trying to, I try not to do that, but I just let her start talking, right? I let her start talking. So like when you ask that question, the way you were asking it, like what? Okay, so what were they telling you?
Well, one family, the wife. Oh well, the last one I was on the appointment, it was a little bit rough. The wife filled it out, and the husband's like, I don't know why she filled this out. And then I said, well, obviously she felt it was important. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but he's like, I don't have time to get to the bottom line.
Was she there?
Yeah, he was sitting down, and she was standing up and behind him.
Okay. Okay, so that whole language thing, my vibe to that is like, the husband, like, and then she's behind him, like, I feel uncomfortable. Did that make you feel uncomfortable that she was standing up and he was sitting down? Did you feel uncomfortable?
Well, when I made the call, she said that both of them spoke English, but they wanted a Spanish-speaking person there. And I said, well, on the lead it says that you speak English. And she said, well, my husband wants somebody Spanish-speaking. And I said, well, no problem. I'll schedule you in for a 15-minute appointment on this day, and we'll have a Spanish-speaking person, which at the time I didn't have one, but I was not going to let that deal go. So
I love it.
And so what I did was when we were at before we went to the door, I kind of explained to the guys what the situation was. and I let him go first, and then I came in, and the husband answered the door. So they kind of built a rapport, and they spoke Spanish before, once he first came in. And then I asked for water, and so she was still on the phone, so we kind of did small talk, and then they conversed in Spanish. And then I kind of looked around to see what, about the family and stuff, and it was close to Halloween, so and their house was decorated. I said, oh, are the grandkids coming over, or the family coming over for trick-or-treating? So just kind of trying to build a rapport. But I waited for her to come out, and I kind of think that she did that initially because she knows how her husband is. So when I asked her if she wanted to have a seat, she said, no, I'll stand. So I was like, that's fine. So I think she wanted him primarily to hear it without her being involved in the discussion.
Yes, you got that right. You got that right. He's Hispanic?
Yeah, traditional.
You know what country? You know what country?
I think he was from Mexico.
Mexico, okay. Yeah, so when you say traditional, it means that he makes all the decisions. It's that machismo.
Right.
And so that's okay. That's a whole different topic of how to sell that.
Yeah.
But I will go into it here because you had a translator with you.
Yes. Well, I spoke to him in English, but the Spanish-speaking guy was there the whole time.
Okay. And he was a guy.
In English, but at times he wanted to talk to him in Spanish.
Yeah, okay. So it's the thing that he wanted to deal with the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So, all right. Well, in those situations, okay. So he started getting into it with you about, well, I don't know why she filled it out, right? You said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Yeah. I know what you said, and if early in the business I would have said the same thing. I would just kind of go into, like, I'm just thinking situations in the past where I had this, and, the wife's there, and she's passive. She's not going to really get into it. And if I address her and not him, he's going to feel like,
Right.
Anyway.
Like I'm disrespecting him.
Right. So I'd say, well, let me ask you a question. What's his name? Juan? Jose?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say, hey, Joe, so basically what this is, your wife, what she filled out was this form that if you passed away, that the mortgage would be paid off for your family. Is that something that would be important to you, that when you die, that the family, your family doesn't have to struggle to stay in the house? I just shut up and I get the ball rolling, right? Because I want it to be his idea, right? I want him to believe that is his, that is something that he cares about. I mean, honestly, I want to know if he cares about his family, that they're going to be able to stay in the house.
Right. Well, that's what I asked him too, and he said, well, I said, if you were to die like tomorrow, would she be able to stay in the house? He says, well, I don't think about things like that. And so I said, well, things like that are happening every day. I said, we have the hurricanes. So I tried to relate it to something that's happening. We had the massacre in Las Vegas. We have the hurricane, which he probably doesn't care about because it's not impacting him. But
yeah, okay. I know. So this is how you have to you got to phrase it. Like, I don't know if that's how you phrased it, but every time I've gotten into a debate with a client, like he says something, I say something, he says something, I say something, like I'm a lawyer and I'm like debate club, like I have a better point than he does.
Yeah.
I've never closed it. Like I can't think of one I've ever closed when I was in debate mode, okay? But when I'm in like psychiatrist mode, when he starts saying crazy stuff like that, it's like, well, I don't like to think about stuff like that. Okay, absolutely. I don't like to think about that stuff either. Okay,
Right.
so when you say, yeah, I agree with you, I hate thinking about that stuff. Something I never want to think about, like if I died and what would happen to my family.
Mhm.
Okay, so what you did was I know how you feel. It's the feel, thought, found. It's like, yeah, I know how you feel. I would feel the same way. So I would say, yeah, I mean, I know how you feel. I don't like to think about it either. It's just during times like this where, because I don't like thinking about it, if I just think about it this one, just right now, then I never have to think about it again because I know my family would be taken care of. That's why I have it for my family, you know. So let's think about it now. So let's just kind of open up and think about it now. Let's think about it now over this next little bit, and then let's take care of it where you don't ever have to think about it again because your family's taken care of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you do is you say, yeah, I don't like thinking about it too. But if we just think about it over the next 15, 20 minutes and then take care of it so you never have to think about it again,
Mhm.
then, then everything's good. So, so tell me, so how would you feel? Oh, okay. I'm thinking on the flex. I don't get this very often. But when they say that, I'll say, eh, obviously you love your family and it's just, you don't even want to think about it. So
Right.
that tells me you really want your family to be taken care of. Okay. So you've used what he said to his advantage that, yeah, I hate thinking about it too because I love my family so much.
Mhm.
So I can put together some programs for you where you never have to think about this again and your family's taken care of. And I'm sure you want to take care of your family, right? That, your family means everything to you, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to do for him. I'm not trying to get him to focus on me as a salesperson closing him on a sale,
Mhm.
right? Because in his mind, he's probably thinking that. It's like, okay, here's a salesperson. They're going to want me to spend money, and I don't know why she filled this out. Okay, so remember, you understand where he's coming from, and you say, and you go, he goes, well, I don't want to think about that. I don't like thinking about it. Okay, all right. Yeah, obviously, I feel the same way. I don't like thinking about it either.
Mhm.
But here's a chance for you to, let's think about it now, and then we can take care of it because I know you love your family.
Mhm.
And would you feel better knowing that if you died tomorrow, that your family doesn't have to struggle staying in the house? And then I just shut up, and I'm going to see if he bites. I'm going to see if he's willing to go there with me. I want him to walk down the road with me by asking questions of, number one, do you love your family? I want him to tell me he loves his family and wants to take care of them. See, because if I can get him to start walking down the road with me on, yes, I love my family, yes, I want to take care of them, then I could cover him with something.
Mhm.
But if I'm debating him on why he should love his family, why he should take care of them,
Mhm.
then I've lost the sale like immediately.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm telling him how he should feel
Mhm.
instead of me bringing out how he feels about his family and
Right.
wanting to take care of them. It's a fine distinction, but it's an important one
Yeah.
because it takes you from debating the client to, hey, you're putting your, it's like verbally you're taking your arm, you're going from face to face to side by side, and you're walking down the road together to take care of his family. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Well, then he's
Yeah.
going to pay off the mortgage. Then I felt
I'm
like
sorry?
he said he's just going to pay off the mortgage. He's just going to pay it off.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why he says something like that? Why he says stuff, why people say that is that they're wanting to come up with a better reason why he shouldn't do it than you're coming up with a better reason why he should. Okay, again, debate. When they come back at you like that, then, they're going into debate mode, and I know that I've lost it. Because you obviously didn't close it, right?
I didn't, but he told me he wanted me to call him back. Call his wife.
All right.
Then he said he had
Oh, that's good. He had what?
3 different properties.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes you're going to get this I'm smarter than you mode. So
Yeah.
this is kind of, that's right, he had 3 different properties, and if he dies, she would just sell one property or she just whatever, right? I mean, it was like that.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Well, at the end, it seemed like I kind of won them over because I kind of backed away. And when he said, well, I'll think about it, and I said, okay, that's fine. My goal here was just to provide you with the information so that you would be able to take care of your family.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good. But, and you might close it. So I want to help you with the ones that you can close like right now.
Okay.
Okay. Whole idea. So for someone like him, I've closed guys like that. They're hard, right, to close them right there and then. And a lot of people back off. But, you know, it's the cultural thing, too, that you got to deal with because you're going to run into the cultural thing with other people like him. But like I said, I don't try to go in debate mode with them because I want to close them today, not, you know, because really statistically, your ability to close someone on another appointment goes down to like 10%, okay? It doesn't go down to 0%, so this might be the 10%. He might be within the 10%. The only agent I've known that's been able to close second appointments is Karen Musil. She closes a high percentage of second appointments. Not that she does a lot of them, but the ones she does, she closes them. So there's something she does. And part of it, she doesn't get too much in debate mode. But anyway, for this guy, again, I would just like put my arm around him and say, look, this is, you know, tell me about how do you feel if your family's taken care of. Look, if he still has an attitude, then, you know, there's nothing you can do, okay? But I'm going to do everything I can to get him to come with me and not get into debate mode. See, whenever you start debating him and you start saying a better point than him, then you've pretty much lost it. It's never going to happen, right? Now, it could happen later, but percentage-wise, what we're talking about is let's take care of a majority of the people like the first time around, okay? So let's stop talking about that guy. Let's just in general talk about how do you transition from the into the why part again, and you know.
So that's where I'm still working on because I'm still trying to create that pain. So that's where I'm needing help at. So that's the question that I ask is when you sent in this, I said, what if you were to die next week? Or would you live in the same house?
Yeah.
And if so,
okay. Right. Okay, so let me, okay, so this is where I put my little chart in use. Again, this works when you have a husband and wife. It also works with a single person. But, okay, so I asked the pain question, like I'll go back to how I asked. It's like, so Mary, who filled out this form? Okay, Mary, you did? All right, so Mary, take me back to when you filled it out. Do you remember where you were? Okay. Oh, I was probably here at the kitchen table opening mail. Okay. So tell me what was on your mind. What were you thinking when you filled it out? And then I shut up. I let her say whatever she's going to say, which in my experience is typically something like this. Well, we were just curious how much this cost. Okay. And trust me, they don't go right into the emotional thing right away. You know, you have to get them there. And I always say that the pain process takes 10 to 12 questions to take them to the emotional thing. They're going to give you the logical reason, but I want to take them to the emotional reason. So she'll say something like, well, we were just curious how much this cost. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to get to that. You know, when you pick the program that you want, it'll be the one that you can afford. So you're basically the one that picks the price, not me. Okay? That. Do you see what I did? Embedded command, I tell them what's going to happen in the future, what they're going to do. Okay? So I take that off the table. I say, but okay, yeah. So we're going to find you something you can afford, but tell me more about that. So tell me what would happen. Joe doesn't come home from work tomorrow because, maybe drunk driver, head-on collision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what happens in your life then. When is the mortgage due? So here are paying questions. This is kind of the drill down process. So Joe, that $75,000 a year, does that income keep going on after he dies, or does that stop? Okay. And so here's how I do that. This is how the visual I put on it. Okay, so Joe dies tomorrow, head-on collision, drunk driver. Okay. I don't like to use pass away, moves on to the next life. Okay. I'd say, man, he dies tomorrow, hit on by a drunk driver. Okay. And I pause because I want them to hear what I just said. Joe dies tomorrow, head-on collision, he's not coming home. Okay. Does that $75,000 a year, is that going to keep coming in, or does that stop too? Well, that stops too. Okay, so you're telling me you go from 100,000 household income to 25,000 household income. Wow. So what does the mortgage payment do? That $1,000 due at the beginning of the month. So, is it going to be a struggle to make that next payment, or do you have, I'm sure you have savings and stuff that you can make that mortgage payment? Okay, I shut up. Okay, so what I did was I negative reversed. I've got videos on negative reversing technique. And so the negative reverse technique is that second way I asked the question. So you got that $1,000. Is it going to be hard to make that mortgage payment? Okay. And she'll probably say, well, yeah. Okay, so then I do the negative reverse. The negative reverse technique is, I'm sure you probably have savings that you can make that mortgage payment for, maybe the next several months, 6, 8 months. Okay, and she's going to say, oh no, we don't, we have savings, but it's not going to last that long to pay the mortgage. All right? Mm-hmm. So now here's the sales process for finding pain. The pain process is you take them from, right now they're feeling good, to you get them to feeling okay, to feeling sick, to be there, then they're on their deathbed. Okay, you're making them emotionally going from good to, they're sick. Okay, with the pain process, it's emotional. You're trying to get so you got to be willing to ask these questions to get the emotional question answered. Does that make sense, Arnita? Mm-hmm. So you get them, so you start asking these questions. So the negative first part is, I'm sure you have probably savings that can help pay the mortgage for you for several months? And then she goes, no. With other expenses, man, I don't know, it's going to be tough. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure you probably have family that can help out, like your mother, father, sisters, brothers. Oh, no, they don't. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm suggesting how it's not as bad, but they're telling me it's bad. Okay, do you see how negative reversing works? Yeah. I'm like, it sounds like I'm not selling them. Okay, right. I'm trying to convince them they don't need this, and they're convincing me they need it. Do you see how that dynamics work? Because what a lot of salespeople do is called the pendulum, which is another video I have, okay, on negative reversing. The pendulum thing works, and works really well. So the 3 o'clock position is they want to buy. The 9 o'clock position is they don't buy. And what most agents do, Arnita, is they try to tell them all the reasons why they should buy. So what they do is they try to pull the pendulum saying, well, I'm sure that, you're going to have trouble making this mortgage payment, aren't you? And the only way that you can like not have that problem is buying life insurance on your husband so that you're going to have the house paid off, and then everything's going to be great and rosy. And see how when you try to pull the pendulum towards them, you're pulling them. The momentum of the pendulum is to swing the other way, right? There's the resistance because you're trying to convince them. They're trying to say, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to feel compelled to not want to buy because you're telling them all the reasons to buy, okay? Right. The reversing thing works this way. So I'm sure you have savings, right, to maybe pay the mortgage for a while. No. This is after you told them, you went from 100,000 household to 25,000. You got a $1,000 mortgage. I'm sure, what's the mortgage due? Beginning of the month. So are you going to have problems making that mortgage payment? I'm sure you have savings to probably cover it, right? I'm sure you have family that can help you pay that off, pay the mortgage and some of your bills, right? No, really. You could probably stay in your house how long before they foreclose? A couple years? Do you see kind of, when I ask those questions, in your mind you're going, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it starts to get pretty heavy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I'm sure you can, and they say no, no, no. So here's the momentum goes to buying because you pulled the pendulum, you're pulling the pendulum back and they're convincing you they need this.
Oh.
Okay? And so here's how you work negative reversing. Here's how you practice it. It's like with my son. I use this for the analogy for a long time. So this is kind of fun. It's like, here's a way to use it like in everyday life. So like when you're at a restaurant and it's time for dessert, instead of looking at the menu, you just look at the server and say, you don't have apple pie, do you? And ice cream, apple pie a la mode? Okay, do you see how that, it's the same thing. You wouldn't have apple pie a la mode, would you? Well, yeah, we do. So that's kind of that's an easy way to practice negative reversing. Here's the other one. Like I've done on my son. Like my son's 21 now, but this is when he was like 14. And so he'd be home and he'd be playing video games. So I get home to have dinner and he's playing video games and I look at him and go, oh, so I'm sure you got all your homework done, right? And he goes, no. Oh, so you're probably getting an A in that class and you're acing all the tests, right? No. And do you know what? It's that second question. Once I do it again, guess what? He turns off the video game and he goes, you know what? I probably need to do my homework. I didn't tell him to do his homework.
Right.
I negative reversing his homework. Okay. So those are sort of simple examples every day how negative reversing works, but I don't beat them up on it. So negative reversing is like spice. You only like negative reversing a little bit, and then you ask them a straight up question. So, man, so what else? How hard is it going to be to live on $25,000 when you were had a household income of $100,000? Now shut up. And then I just let them answer the question. It's a hard question, but I want them to start feeling sick about why they need this. Now, not every situation can be perfect.
Right.
Right? But when you start getting them thinking about the emotion in the pain process, man, you're getting something. Okay? Now the person that has no pain, so that's kind of the ideal situation. Let me tell you about the not ideal situation, because I've run into this before. Okay? Typically it's like maybe an older established couple. Okay, and I start doing this, and he goes, well, I've got, over $1 million in assets, and my wife could sell one of the homes that we own, we own outright, we don't have a mortgage on. It's like our cabin up in the Hamptons. She could sell that, and she could probably pay the mortgage off. Oh, okay. Wow. So it sounds to me like I don't even know why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's negative reversing again, right?
Right.
I don't know why I'm here. Like, why did you even fill this out? Well, we're just curious how much it costs, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm curious why you would want to buy a policy when you can just sell your assets off and have her just pay with the assets you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then typically those kind of guys say, well, if it was cheap enough, then it might make sense. Okay, well, tell me more about that. What do you mean it would make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's cheap enough. You know, life insurance is tax-free because they already know it's tax-free.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just want to see if we can just cover the house with tax-free money. Well, so obviously it sounds like you got life insurance, right? And he says, yeah. How much do you have? Well, I got $1 million on me. Okay, so that's $1 million. That'll last the entire time? He goes, no, it's, it was a 20-year term. Oh, okay. So how long ago did you get that? Oh, man. Not sure. Okay, well, why don't we get the policy? I'll take a look at it. Okay. Well, see, but those kind of guys, I'm just asking questions. I'm trying to figure out. But I walked away when there's nothing, not even an annuity. Because they'll say, well, I have a financial guy that takes care of all my stuff there. Oh, okay, well, we got a financial guy that could also give you some great advice on your assets. Well, no, I trust my guy. He's been with me for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, well, it sounds to me like there's nothing here that I could do for you. I really don't know why you filled this out, So, well, if it's cheap enough, we get it. I go, well, because you're, 70, it's not going to be cheap, because it's going to be expensive for you. So it doesn't sound like there's anything I can do.
Mm-hmm.
He says, nah, you're right. You're probably nothing I can do. I go, let me ask you, do you have any grandkids? Yeah, we've got 5. Oh. Have you ever heard of our Head Start program? Ever heard of a Head Start program? Well, I've heard of Head Start for college. I go, no. Well, when it comes to life insurance, have you ever heard of the Head Start program? Well, no. Well, the Head Start program is buying your grandchildren initial program of life insurance that they can take over and continue to put money in that would grow cash value so that by the time they're 40, 50, 60, they could have 6 figures of cash value in it. And you're giving them a head start in the world of life insurance because it's cheaper when they're younger and healthy, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can show you some programs there if you, want to concern about getting your grandchildren into the Head Start program. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm trying to find something.
Right.
But you see how I'll walk away. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. So the point is, I want to cover people that need and want coverage. I don't cover people that don't need it. Mm-hmm. I don't try to convince them, okay? Just so knowing that I have that integrity about my approach, that's why I can negative reverse the snot out of them. And even though it doesn't feel good, my job is not to make the client feel good. Mm-hmm. In fact, my job is the opposite. My job is to make the client feel terrible mm-hmm. if they don't get this taken care of.
Right.
If I can make them feel terrible, then I can get them feeling better because I'm going to take care of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me kind of show you that transition from when I make them feel terrible to how I save them, okay? Okay. So I'm driving the pain. I'm asking the pain questions, and I'm like, oh, man, that doesn't sound good. And even if you're doing it right, if Joe starts trying to chime in, it just says, well, no, I don't think she's going to. It's like, yeah, well, Joe, look, you're dead, so you can't say anything right now. I'm asking Mary, and you're driving the point home that they better dad gonna make the decision be while he's alive, right? You're saying it in a very subtle way. And I'm laughing because my rapport with them has been built early, so I can be that familiar with them.
Right.
If you didn't do a very good job of monitoring rapport, you can't be that familiar with them.
Right.
Okay, so you gotta go far. It just depends. It's a feel thing. So ultimately, I will turn it over to Joe. I go, so Joe, how does that make you feel that marrying the kids are going to have to go through all that? Because let me tell you some other questions I have. So Mary, after you get foreclosed on or you sell the house, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to be able to move in to a smaller place because you're only making now 25,000? What are you going to do? Are you going to have to move in with your parents? Okay, I'd never reverse that too. I go, well, I'm sure your parents will take you in, right? Who wants to move back with their parents?
Well, what about
right?
the children? Do you usually say the children? Because what if they're older? If they're older, like in their 50s or 60s, their parents may or may not be living. So would you say either the parents or the children?
Well, if they're older, here's what really gets them if they're older, Arnita. So do you think your children, you can go live with your children? Oh my gosh. That to them, they don't want to move in with their kids because it's admitting that they, it's terrible. When you suggest that to them, that they got to live with their kids, more often than not, in my experience, they'd rather die almost. Almost. That's a strong enough, like, why. Their pain gets amped up when you start talking about moving in with their kids. Man, it's like, it's actually done right there if they're older. If they're younger parents, then you can start talking about them moving with their parents. So that's kind of where you go with that. But when when the pain's, high enough, I go to Joe, tell me, how does that make you feel? And Joe, if you did a good enough job, Joe would say, well, that's not going to happen. We're going to take care of them. I'm going to take care of them. That kind of thing. He's going to take responsibility.
Right.
And then this is where the transition happens. I go, that's why I'm here. Okay? So what you've done is you said, that's why I'm here. I'm going to make sure that never happens to you, Mary, Joe, that this never happens to your family when you die. Okay, remember, when you die, not if you die. When you die, I'm going to make sure that your family's taken care of. That's why I'm here. That's a magic phrase, because what you did was you tied the solution to you. You didn't tie the solution to the insurance policy. You didn't tie the solution to Mutual of Omaha or Columbia Financial Group or Foresters. You didn't tie the solution to anything else except for you. That's why I'm here. I'm going to make sure that you're going to be taken care of and that this will never happen. All of a sudden, you become the hero to help them do it. Okay?
Okay.
So then we move into upfront contract. So how do you do the, this is what's going to happen next slide.
Okay. Next slide. So then, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and everything, I have a quoting too, so I have my iPad here where I'll provide a couple of different, what do I say? A couple of different types of coverage and premiums for you. So just give me a moment. So then, and this is, out of the 3 appointments I've been on, I forgot to call Poor 2 times, but on the one I did, he kind of walked me through it, and I called him, and then we went to the quoting tools, and then I wrote down, the different options that they have. So yeah. I have like the benefit, and I have this in paper protected, so I have a marker that I fill it in each time for them so they can see it. So
okay.
That's option 1, 2, and 3 in the benefits, and then what the monthly payment would be.
Okay.
I would say, do these look like they're within your budget? Or which one looks like it would be in your budget?
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So would you like me to show you a stronger way to do that so that you can close it?
Yeah.
I will spare you the emotion of going through a negative reversing that whole thing with you. So, okay. So this is what I do to strengthen the upfront contract. Okay. So I'm gonna erase all this.
Okay.
Again, I draw things out. So I leave room on my lead. So I do all this stuff in the first half of the lead sheet, and then the second half of the lead sheet, this is where I kind of draw out the process. So after I go, that's why I'm here. I'm going to make sure this never happens to you, Mary. I'm going to work with you, and this is what happens from here on out. Okay. So this is what happens. So this is where I lay out this is the upfront contract. So what an upfront contract is I tell them what I'm going to do and what they're going to do. I'm going to tell them what's going to happen. And then if they don't want to do their part, then I'm not going to do my part. I'm going to leave, right? Okay, so this is what I do. And I do it, this is very similar to what I do every time, but I might, you know, just out of boredom, I might change it up, but it's basically this. I go, okay, so Joe and Mary, let me tell you what's going to happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 options, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to pick the best one that's going to be that you can afford for your family, that you like, okay? And then what we're going to do then is we're going to fill out a request for coverage form, and I'm going to ask you some health questions. Now, and then you're going to answer them to the best and most accurate of your ability. Now, let me say this about that, Joe and Mary. You know that all your health information's on a database, right? Like, it's called the MIB, the Medical Information Bureau. And so all the doctors that treat you and all the surgeries you ever had, they all report any significant stuff to the MIB. So all your health issues are on the database. And then that database, all the insurance companies, whether you apply for health insurance, life insurance, whatever, they're going to check that database to make sure that when you apply for anything, whether it be insurance or health insurance, life insurance, whatever, that they're going to check that and make sure that everything's accurate that you put down on your, you know, because they want to catch people that are trying to hide stuff.
Right.
Okay. Now, we don't, you know, so we want to be as accurate as possible when I ask you these health questions, because if there's something that you forget and we turn it in and they find that you should have answered yes when you answered no, they're going to think you're trying to hide something. And what that does is it decreases your opportunity to get insurance, okay? So let's just try to be as accurate as possible. Okay, so out of role play. You're telling them not to lie to you.
Right.
Okay? And it's important because clients will lie. They're going to not disclose everything, and I want them to disclose everything because I want them to get covered. And if they don't disclose everything, then they can get declined because something came up on the MIB, and you start going through this enough in your sales career that you're going to get a little more hardcore like I just did. Now that wasn't hardcore. It's just telling them that they better tell the truth in a nice way, right?
Right.
You want to be as accurate as possible, okay? So that's the little side thing I do with that. So we're going to fill out a request for coverage form. Then what we're going to do is we're going to send it to the insurance company. Okay, like I draw stuff out, the insurance company. Okay, what the insurance company do is they're going to think about you, okay? They're going to think whether or not they should issue that on you or not after looking at all the databases and your motor vehicle report to make sure that you don't have any, you know, drunk driving stuff within the last 3 years and so on and so on and so on. All right, so they're going to think about you, not you. So you're not going to have to think about this because there's nothing to think about in this process. All we got to do right now is figure out which one you can afford and that you like for your family. They'll take care of that issue that we talked about earlier, and then we're going to see if you qualify for it. So tonight's not a think about it night. Okay, Joe and Mary, does that make sense? So let's agree.
Think about it night.
Tonight is not a think about it night for you because the insurance company has to think about you first. Mm-hmm. So we got to let them think about it before you can even start thinking about it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You just totally think about it, excuse off the table. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So tonight's not a think about it night. They're going to think about you first. And when they think about you, they're going to either, if they should approve it, yeah, they approve it. Then what's going to happen is they're going to send the policy back to you, okay? And then I'm going to come in, and then I'm going to review the policy with you to make sure it has everything that you want, need, and when you receive the policy, then I can come over and then we can think about whether or not the coverage is everything you need, or if you can afford more. Maybe you want more coverage, or maybe you want to drop the coverage to option 1. We still have a chance to do that. Now it's time to think about what you want to do. Now you know that's been approved.
Right.
Okay. So and then I go, does that make sense, Joe Mary? They go, oh yeah, okay. Now, this is how I cover my bases. Okay, now if they don't approve you, okay, what's going to happen is I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to cover another insurance company. Now that I know that you're not qualified for this particular insurance company, I'm going to come with a second company or third company that we can get you covered with now that we know that you've been declined here, all right? So I'm going to bring, and then through this process, we're going to get you the best the insurance industry has to offer based on your health conditions and what you're looking for. So, you know, this might take, you know, 2-3 weeks to find out if it's approved. It could take 1 week, you know, but sure enough, I'm going to come back to you and, you know. Now, we know that sometimes it gets issued in 7 minutes, right? So why do I say 2-3 weeks? Because I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is my upfront contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you see how this might be stronger than how you said it?
Yeah. Because it's like I'm putting everything in their lap. Whereas this way, your way, I've taken control from them and given it to the insurance company. So now they're in a position where I hope I get approved versus they think up front that they're just going to get approved and they have all these options.
Absolutely. It's kind of like you ran track, right?
Yeah.
What events did you run?
I'm primarily a hurdler, 100 meter, 400 meter, hurdler, relays, 400 meters.
That's so hardcore. Oh my gosh. So so you lead with the left foot and you
I
one of those?
am a leg leader. Oh wait. It's been so long I gotta do this. Yeah, yes.
Okay. So this is like if I were someone's coach, I'd say, you know, your best time in the high hurdles is this time. And, you know, look, Arnita, I've got this regimen that I'm going to put you through this training process that I've helped runners go from this time to this time. And you got it. You got the talent. I think you could do it. So let me tell you what's going to happen. Boom, boom. We're going to come in. You're going to work out X number of times. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go in the weight room. He's going to lay it all out for you. Mm-hmm. And then you should drop your time by this much, I believe, if you work hard.
Right.
Okay. So you as the athlete, it's like, okay, I can buy into that program. Or you might say, man, that's a lot of work. Maybe I don't buy into the program. But one thing for sure is that you know where he's coming from, so you can make a decision.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. That I'm going to buy into that because he sounds like he's going to, okay, it's like this. You're the coach for them, say this is what's going to happen so that we can help you make sure that thing that you hated to have happen to your family won't ever happen.
Right.
Okay. This is where you close. But here's the other thing that this will bring out. This will bring out the objections. Mm-hmm. All the objections they have. You want all the objections to come before you lay prices out.
Okay.
Right? Because you don't want them to steal your prices because that's what you have of value is for them to know what it costs so they can make a decision. But I want to make sure that I'm going to show them only prices when they've agreed that we're going to take care of it. Mm-hmm. Because I tell them after you make a decision we send to the company, right, you're going to be covered like right now.
Right.
Okay, I didn't put that in there. But so when I walk out of here, Joe and Mary, if anything happens to you tonight, tomorrow, the next day, while this is being underwritten by the company, Mary doesn't have to worry, Mary and the kids don't have to worry about anything.
Right. But what if they say, well, what if it gets denied?
Well, yeah, I already went over that. Didn't I?
Well, it won't be covered right then when you leave out.
Well, it depends on what company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some of our companies are unconditional, like Forrester's unconditional. It's really an unconditional coverage, right? So as long as they answer those 3 questions, the one if, have you been in the hospital the last 6 months? Are you currently under whatever? I mean, there's those 3 questions. they can get the temporary insurance. But I will, but I want them to know that they're going to get the coverage and they're going to be okay. Majority of the time, that's going to be true. As I go through the process and I find out that that's not true, then I tell them, hey, look, you're in that category where it's not exactly, you're not going to be covered. Something happens to you, but we're going to get this underwritten quick, whatever, okay? All right, so anyway, okay, so from here, okay, so if they don't agree with it, say, well, look, we're not going to do anything tonight. We're not going to apply. We just wanted to get the information, and then we're going to make a decision what we want to do. Okay, can I call a timeout, Joe and Mary? Okay, when they throw something at you like, I go, can I call a timeout? It's called pattern interrupt. Can I call a timeout? Yeah. Okay, I'm confused. Okay, pattern interrupt, I'm confused. I thought that you wanted to make sure that that didn't happen to Mary and the kids, and I thought that you wanted to take care of this tonight. Well, I do want to take care of Mary and the kids, but, I'm just not making any decisions tonight. Oh, you thought you had to make a decision tonight. There's no decisions tonight, okay? So this is so again, let me give you the mindset. People don't want to make big decisions. They think everything's riding on one big decision.
Right.
I want to make that big decision a small decision, okay? So when they say, give me that, I go, oh, I'm sorry, I must have confused you. You're not making any decisions here. There's no big decision here tonight. All you're deciding is what you would like to apply for to see if you're approved. The only decision you make is after you receive the policy. You know that you have the policy. Now that you know that you're underwritten and the insurance company is willing to cover you, now you can make a decision whether or not you want to keep it or you want to raise the coverage or lower the coverage. Does that make sense, Joe? So tonight, it's not a major decision night tonight. It's just a small decision on your way to making the ultimate decision that you're talking about. Okay. Do you see what I did? I did another Jedi mind trick on them, and I reframed the big decision that they're thinking is stopping them to a small decision. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. So if they still don't do it after that, and they say, well, look, you got to go because we got this thing to go to, and blah, 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 blah. I go, and just show us the prices that are available, and then, then we'll call you back and we'll think about it. I go, well, Joe, I could show you $13 a month, or I could show you $130 a month. It doesn't really matter because you're not wanting to do anything, really take care of your family tonight. So I tell you what, I'm going to leave you my card, and I'm going to pack up, and then just give me a call when you're ready to take care of your family. Oh, wow. That's powerful. I mean, it's hardcore, but you know what? You protect your attitude because you didn't let a client walk all over you. Yeah. See, because when you go into a sale, there are two systems, okay? When you walk into a house, there are two systems that you can choose to play. You can choose the client sales system, right? And the client sales system leads to a think about it stall, and then you go home with diddly squat, with nothing, right? Yeah. But you choose the ATM system. The ATM, you figure out their why, right? And their why leads to them picking options, right? And leads to an application, and then you're in the game. So you stop that client stuff at the beginning, and then you're willing to walk away from it, right? You're not going to let them stomp all over you. And I'm bold. I just say, I appreciate, the opportunity, but look, I want to take care of families that want to take care of families that want to take care of their families now, because anything can happen. Okay, if you think you have time to figure it out, once you figure out that you want to do it, because we have 15 different companies, I can show you the best rates around. But give me a call when you're ready, and boom, I'm out of there. And I'm looking at my watch. Okay, I'm giving all the verbal cues. I'm looking at my watch. I look at my cell phone while I'm talking to them. Like I give them all the body language, and I'm shutting this down. Like I'm like looking at my phone, I'm looking at my next schedule, I'm packing things up, I'm giving my card, and I'm out of there. It's like, awesome. Hey, see you later, give me a call. And I'm out of there. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because they know you mean business too.
Go ahead.
They know you mean business, and you're not going to just settle for anything from them.
Right. You know, it's kind of like when I asked my wife to marry me, I knew she was going to say yes. She could have said no, but I knew she was going to say yes. You know why I knew she was going to say yes? Because everything leading up to that point, I really knew. There was no like doubt. But if she said, well, let me think about it, you know, it's like, whoa, I must not have done my job to confident, okay? But it's like this. You did everything you could do, like really everything you could do to get to the point. And if they say, now we really are not ready to do it, and you feel like you've done everything, which, remember, I'm always selling. So when they say that, but I still can't turn it around, I'm out of there. It's like, I'm out of there. I only want to be friends with people that love their families. So they're not even a friend yet. So like, get into the mode of people will buy from people they like. Okay, people buy from people they respect and have a need. Right, it's okay for them to like you, but look, liking you is not the ultimate goal. Getting them taking care of their families is the goal. So I don't get too much. The bottom report is important, don't get me wrong, but here's what the client tries to do. They try to get you to like them so they can tell you they want to think about it.
Right.
It makes them feel less guilty having you waste all your time with them because they're so nice to you. So the biggest thing is be careful of the super nice people that say, hey, here's some water, and is anything else we can get you before we get started? And man, my ears pop up, and it's like, okay, trying to be nice to me for a reason. You know, this is one to tell me think about it because they want to get me out of the house and not feel guilty about it. So I kind of know that I need to work a little bit harder, you know, at that one.
Well, my thing is, why would they even have you over at the house if they knew already that they were going to think about it? They just wanted to get the prices so they could price shop.
That's what bothers me too. And it's like, I am not going to let them steal my prices. Like I know there's some people out there that are thinking, well, I mean, you'll have a shot if you give them prices. Well, I already said I can get it covered for $13 a month to $130 a month.
Right.
And bucks a month. I can get them an accident policy for $13 a month for $100,000 with Mutual of Omaha. You know, it's like when I'm on the phone and they say, well, can you give me some prices? Yeah, $13 a month. Is that cheap? Yeah. So they have me coming to your area Thursday and Friday. I can be there between 6 and 7 p.m. or Friday between 5 and 6. Which is better for you? Okay, you see what I did? I gave them a price, but I'm not bound to tell them what that's about. They say, well, what does that include? I go, Joe, you wanted a price. Listen, my job is to give you all the information when I get there. It takes 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
You know, again, Thursday between 6 and 7 or Friday between 5 and 6. Right. But you know what? You do enough of these where people steal your time and your prices, you just get sick and tired of it. And it's like, well, screw it. I'm providing them a service.
Right.
And so I want to be the shell answer man and then giving all everybody, not getting anything done for anybody.
Exactly.
Myself who's trying to make money for my family. But here's the thing, when you get that attitude lifted up, that you honor your business like that, man, closing starts coming easy.
Right.
Because you respect your business.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you know what? You've gone through everything, all the stuff that we just went through, bond and rapport, paying the upfront contract, those three things. 5 steps in the sales process. This is where the close happens or doesn't happen. All the rest of the stuff is sort of, you know, stuff that happens. Did he go to, your husband go to UT?
No, oh, no, that's my stepfather.
Oh, stepfather. Okay, I was just looking at Orange.
Yeah.
What's up?
He said,
I was just checking. Anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking parents' house in New Jersey. That's where I flew into yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Man.
Yeah, I'm not able to be here for Thanksgiving, so I said I'll come early and we could celebrate together this weekend. So that's why I'm here.
That's great. Well, oh man, Arnita, I didn't know. I look, I appreciate you booking your, you know, time with your family for this. I hope it helped.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, I've heard about the NLP through like Tony Robbins, but it's always a good reminder because you forget certain things or how to use it in everyday language. So, you know, it's good to bring that back into the picture to see how we can apply it to closing in the home.
Yeah.
And
so
then
you're going to
statement, that the negative reverse technique, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you're going to use this stuff and you're going to kill it now, right? So.
Absolutely.
See what I just did? I just embedded the command. Good stuff. Well, rock on. I'm going to make this recording available so you can rewatch it. Okay. And then, you know, you can kind of lock this stuff in because I know you're probably taking some notes. You're probably just kind of listening, which is fine. I'll send it out so you can get the full strength of it. And then call me if you got any specific questions. All right?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Alex.
All right, Arnita, rock on. Good stuff. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.